Ladies and gents, what is going on? Hey, Tony Berardi here. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Berardo Podcast. And this is a very special episode because I'm actually coming to you from the brand new studio inside our brand new home. This is house number tres. For those who speak Spanish, those who don't, that is number 3. So house number 3, we're very excited. And it has been quite a journey to get here, which is kind of what the podcast is going to be about. It's going to be a quick little just kind of rant on a few things that I wanted to talk to you guys about because, I think sometimes we get caught up in how we're supposed to live our lives. And, for a long time, I was caught up in that, especially, in my early 20s, like we all are. But I just wish I knew what I knew now back then. And I probably did, but I was too stupid to listen. So I know most of you that subscribe to the podcast, but hopefully, if there's any people that I don't know and you're in your 20s or you're about to be 30 and you're trying to figure out what to do, I'm hoping I can shine a little light and just give you some feedback on what helped us kind of get where we are today. But before we do that, I do, of course, want to thank our sponsors of today's podcast, and that is our friends over at Public Goods. Now, Public Goods is the one-stop shop for affordable, sustainable, healthy household products. Now, what I mean by household, well, I'm talking everything from personal care to premium pantry, staples that you use like canned goods and, oatmeal and pasta, all types of sauces, all in one place. Public Goods has it. And rather than buying from a bunch of different, single product brands, Public Good members can actually buy all their premium essential products all in one place. And it's, one beautiful, streamlined, visually aesthetic product line. You got to check this thing out. It's incredible. And the one thing I love about Public Goods is they've literally transformed the way I shop because, especially with, COVID and everything that's going on right now, typically we don't like to go into stores, right? But it's way too cool when you can get a bunch of the products that you always use and you can get them delivered right to your door at an affordable price, but they all look gorgeous. They're committed to making their products healthier and safer for humans and the environment. So just knowing where your products come from are important. And some of the small changes that, you could take, shopping at Public Goods being one of them, is going to help. They use a membership model to keep costs extremely low, and they pass on the savings to the customers. So you can actually make your first purchase with no obligation. Just go to publicgoods.com, order anything you want on their site, use the code TonyPGA, and you're going to get a discount on every single order that you put in there. So it's just, again, a great company, publicgoods.com. You won't be disappointed. So Public Goods, hey, listen, we appreciate you. Again, use the code TonyPGA, all one word. You're going to get a discount at publicgoods.com. And if you follow me on Instagram, you see me post all types of cool stuff. And you can go to theberardo.com and you can check out some of the recipes that I used with some of their great products. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode.
It's funny, the way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how?
Come here though. Yeah, he's crazy, see? Who are you?
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Are you ready?
If you're listening to me on YouTube or watching me on YouTube, rather, yes, this is a awesome new shirt that's available on the shop, theberardo.com. Check that out. See, it says grass-fed human. Yeah, that's me. So, go check it out, theberardo.com. So, here's what I want to talk about. So, a couple things. So, everyone asked me, they're like, hey, Tony, how'd you guys end up, buying house number 3? You're only 35. Like, what's going on? I'm thinking to myself, only 35. If I knew what I knew now, I think I would have like 5 homes, but I think the big reason why I'm not where I want to be, financially, and, a lot of us could probably relate to this, is we're just so damn materialistic in America for some reason. We love, the new and the cool and the hip things, and I'm guilty of it too. We all are, I think. But that's because like from birth, we get a toy and our neighbor has the toy and we're trying to keep up with the Joneses, and our parents want to make us happy. So they buy us all the cool new shit. And we kind of get taught at this young age that if we want something bad enough, we just have to keep asking for it. And we ask and we ask and we ask and we get. And that's how we're raised, and a lot of that has to do with some parents raise their kids that way and some parents don't. And the ones that typically don't raise their kids to be spoiled that way usually are better human beings. Me personally, I was not spoiled. I got what I wanted here and there, but my father really instilled into me a work ethic that I didn't really take advantage until I was like late 20s, early 30s. So he tried his hardest, but I was very stubborn. I don't know who I get that from on the side of the family. We're all Italians and Germans, and we're all stubborn and beetle-headed sometimes. But sometimes we always like to point the finger and we like to say, I don't make enough money, or if I live in California, the rent's too high and I don't get paid enough. Or if I live in Orlando, Florida, downtown Orlando, I want a loft because that's where I work and the rent's too expensive. And obviously things have progressively gotten more expensive as years go on because there's demand for it, right? So we want the expensive shit and we want the marble countertops and the IKEA furniture, and we want the contemporary look, and we want all these new upgrades. So us as humans, we want like the new shit, and that costs money. It costs money for companies to innovate and create new things. So I think what we have to wrap our head around though is, do we need that type of shit? Do we need new clothes? Do we need new furniture? Do we need brand new TVs? Do we need new iPhones? Do we need all that stuff? And I know we want that stuff. I mean, I want that stuff, right? I do what I can to work hard so I can afford that stuff, but it is almost like a sickness to where it's kind of instilled in us. I think that's human nature. We always want to be better as humans, right? Like going back to, when we were Neanderthals, I mean, if we created fire, we wanted to cook food with that fire. We wanted to keep ourselves warm with that fire. We wanted to build things with that fire. We wanted to light our house with that fire, to light up the home. So we're always thinking of ways to take the things that we have and innovate with it and continue to get better. I think that's human nature. It could be our downfall too, right? Especially if you're in your early 20s or, you're coming up on 30 and, you're renting an apartment, you're going out every night and you're spending money that you don't have. We always blame everyone else that we're not making money, or we blame it on the economy, or we blame it on the president or the governor or the mayor. And we say that we're not making enough money because things are too expensive or minimum wage isn't high enough. And there's a little bit of truth to that. But also the one thing we kind of have to understand is you can live off of 30 grand a year. You can. You could totally live off there. Now you're not going to have the new iPhone. You're not going to have those brand new pair of shoes that you wanted. The new Jordans that popped. You're not going to be able to get that. But again, why do we want this shit? Why is this so important to us? Well, it's instilled in us, and the propaganda is instilled into us from, marketing companies. And not marketing companies, but companies themselves. Their whole job is to market to us, the consumer, and make things irresistible to where we want it. And, it works. These cats are good at what they do. But there's got to be a point to where you wake up one day and say, okay, I know what game I'm in here. I need to stop playing this game. I need to focus on numero uno. I need to focus on my life, and I need to get my shit together. Because there's going to be a point in time where it's going to be too late and you're not going to have the time to get your shit together. You're going to go bankrupt. You're going to max out your credit cards. You're not going to be able to get approved for a home because your credit's not that good. You're not going to be able to get a car because your credit isn't that good. Or you're going to be stuck in this hole to where you have the higher interest rates in your cars and on your credit cards, and, you have to pay them off faster. And that's all based off credit. And there's this thing that was instilled in our government, and that is pay taxes. Everything's based off your credit score. This is how you're going to become a high-class citizen, is by taking care of your shit. and there's a certain status. And whether you believe in that status is irrelevant, but if you have a higher credit score, you get better things. That's just a fact. So if you have a lower credit score, you don't qualify for certain things, and you may never qualify for those things because you have to build that credit, right? In order to build that credit, you have to make sure you're not in debt and you're not spending money that you don't have. And some of us, I think, get in the habit of spending money, whether it's on credit cards or borrowed money, and we like to spend money on things that we don't need, and we're not focusing on the long-term goal. And that's what I've been trying to do the last 6 to 8 years. I've really been trying to hone in and focus on what I need to do to get my shit together. I did this in my mid-20s, late 20s, I would say, probably closer to 30, 28, 29, where I got my shit together. I realized that I needed to save up money, and one day I wanted to buy a home. And then once I bought my first home about 6 years ago, I decided that in order to make residual income, I could go ahead and open up a business, which I wanted to do. There's a couple ideas that I had, but then I was like, it's kind of risky because you need some capital. So what's an easy thing that I could do that I can get into like within the next couple of years? And that's real estate. Because real estate has its ups and downs, but not like the stock market, not like the shoe game or whatever else you're into. The cool thing about the real estate market is when I was a kid, houses were going for $30,000 when I was born, maybe 50. My parents' first home was $50,000. So now houses are going for $500,000 that are the same size and the same square footage and in the same neighborhood. So in 30 years, it hasn't decreased. I mean, it's gone up and down. Sure, you could talk about '08 and what happened with, what happened with the market then, but the market has always topped itself every year. So if it goes down, it's going to keep going back up again. It's always going to happen. And it has happened. I mean, sure, it might crash, but it's always good to have money in real estate. And when the market is shit, you don't do anything. You rent out the property if you can, or you just sit on it if you can afford to, and maybe even buy another house when the market is shit. And then when the market's good, you try to sell that house. And you can make a lot of money that way. And that's what we're doing. So now we just got house number 3. So we're going to sell one of our other homes. And then we still rent out one of the houses that we have in Orlando. And again, this is all planning, right? This is all, you can't do this type of stuff if you go out and spend money on stupid shit all the time. And we decided years ago that we weren't going to do that. When our friends wanted to go out and, do trips and do this and do that, of course we wanted to, but then we realized, okay, listen, we can go to Italy every year if we wanted to. Like, we have the money to do it. You have the money to do it. You could do that type of shit, but then gonna be able to like pay your electric on time. I mean, you kind of have to think about this type of stuff. So people don't realize that $30,000 a year, you can pay all your bills off of, you can live off of. If you make 30 grand a year, you can live comfortably. You can. And guess what? Here's how I know. Because if the government just said one day that taxes go from, because right now they're at 6.5%, 7%, sales tax. If they told us tomorrow that sales tax was 20%, what are you going to do? You're going to pay for it. What about your income tax? What if they raise that? You're going to pay for it. You're going to have to find a way to pay it for it. That's the thing that we're not understanding is you're not in control of what money's going out. Like, we're told that we have to pay taxes on certain things. And what if one day that changes? You remember when gas went from like $2 to $4? What did you do? You didn't take the bus everywhere. You had to make do and you had to pay for that gas. You just had to save a little bit extra money. The question is, are you preparing yourself just in case something does happen? And that's one thing that COVID has really, really taught me. I kind of knew this stuff, but it's really opened my eyes a lot to what you need in life. And you don't need some of the shit that you think you need. You don't need to go out all the time. You don't need to eat out. And, I think a lot of the stuff is going to change these next couple of years. But, you want to do these things. Sure. I get it. You don't want to be a hermit crab. But if you're a hermit crab for 5 years, and then you could buy, a house, or you could buy something for your parents, or you could buy something that's meaningful, that actually makes sense to do. I don't know. Isn't that better than just buying a bunch of little micro things throughout those 5 years? So you just have to kind of weigh out like the pros and cons. what's important and what isn't. And I'm sure this COVID thing has really taught each of us what's important and what isn't. I mean, America is the greatest place on earth. We're very lucky. You know, it continues to provide a future for a lot of us, but I think a lot of us are taking advantage, or excuse me, not taking advantage of America the way that I'm starting to think of it, which is America does not care about us. It just doesn't. America's here to make money, and there's nothing wrong with that because that's why we're the greatest country in the world. You know, but they don't care. The government and all these politicians, they want to make money. They're a business. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, that's why they are who they are. America is the best. There's no comparison. But you also kind of have to understand that like America does not care that you go broke. America does not care what happened to your family. America doesn't care about anything about you. It's only out for itself, rightfully so. And by the way, it always has been since it was founded. Technically not founded, stolen. Since it was stolen, it's always cared about being profitable and being greedy. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. The reason I say that is because we're fed this constant American dream mentality. And yeah, this is the place where you can do all those things. But at the same time, you can have the American dream. But while that happens, America is going to feed you propaganda and bullshit and things you don't need so that they can make money. And if you fail, you fail. They don't care. So yeah, you can do what you want, kind of. And when you do what you want, America's just going to be pummeling you down the entire time, taking taxes from you and spending that on God only knows what. It's going to feed you a bunch of bullshit the entire time. And I think we have to understand that the only person that could take care of your life and your family is you. And when you get your shit together and you understand that you can actually be in control of what happens in your life, but you have to educate yourself and you have to figure out what you have to do to get there, because no one is going to give you a handout and no one is going to take care of you except yourself. And you have to prepare yourself that you might even have to take care of family one day. You know, if you're out there and you're married, one day you're going to have to take care of your wife. One day you're going to have to take care of your kids. And where's that money going to come from? What are you going to do? I strongly believe that the American dream is just being cheap, educating yourself, and enjoying the fruits of your labor. That's it. But in that order. So a perfect example of what I'm talking about is if you want to go out with the boys, your wife says, yeah, go ahead and do it. Go ahead. It's fine. I'm okay. Go have fun. And in the back of your head, you're like, something's kind of fishy, but I'm going to do it anyway. When you get back to that house, it's going to be a shit show. And your wife is not going to be happy with you. And that's what America's like. America's like, yeah, come on in, do whatever you want. You know, you'll be fine. Don't worry. Taxes, yeah, we got you. You're good. Yeah, credit cards, here you go. No worries. And then while you're doing all this shit, guess what happens? You're racking up debt. You're going to college. You're getting fed this propaganda. Meanwhile, all you had to do was just educate yourself, take your time, worry about yourself. Don't worry about anybody else. Of course, worry about your family. But I think we all have to educate ourselves and understand that we need to control what we can control. And what you control is how you live your life, which is being positive, being healthy, and what you put in your body. Especially with everything's going on, man, I tell you what, during COVID, this thing, we've really focused on cooking at home, not really eating out as much, not going out a lot, just in general, obviously cleaning up around the house, especially because we just bought this other one. So we're focusing a lot more on that. But just little things like that. There's a great feeling when you're only focused on yourself and you're not worried about the outside noise and the outside influences and, pointing your finger at, this is why we're in this place. This is why we're in that place. When you could just really buckle down and focus on yourself, I think that's what the American dream is about. I don't think that's what they want us to think. I just think, borders are open, come on in, we got you, don't sweat it. We just want another body in America. But really, we're not understanding that we're in control of everything. And the second you actually can sit down and really focus and just bring value to, how you're living your life every single day. If you're lucky enough to still have a job during this COVID thing, are you bringing value to that job? Or are you just collecting a paycheck and then going out and spending it on stupid shit that we don't need? At some point, there was something that was fed to us that made us believe that a gin and tonic costs $8. And we're okay with that. We're okay with just spending that money, $8 for a drink, when you could buy a handle for $26 and just make it at home. And yeah, of course, your friends aren't there, you can't socialize, but why do we care so much about that? Why do we think that hanging out with friends and going to bars and going to restaurants and, partying like it's freaking the 70s and, doing drugs and speeding down the highway, and why do we think that's more important than where we're going to be at the age of 35 or 40? Like, I know we don't think about that type of stuff, but the problem is, the reason we don't think about that stuff is not all of us are on the same page here. If every single 30-year-old and 40-year-old had these conversations to every single 25-year-old, it's probably not going to go very well, probably. Because 20-year-olds are just idiotic. I know I was. But the more we educate and the more we, teach the younger generation not to do this type of stuff. And, of course, leading by the front, not doing it ourselves as well. That's key, right? Like, we can't be posting on social media that we're partying, every single night, but then we're also preaching you need to save money, you need to be healthy, and you need to do this, you need to do that. So I think we really need to look at ourselves and see what are we doing to make this place better. And that's really what I've done these last 6-7 months, where I've really understood that surrounding myself with people that are very positive, that are very objective thinkers, reading as much as I can about different topics I don't know about, but also trying to educate myself in those topics and then teaching other people about it as well. I really want to make sure that I'm learning as much as I possibly can, but also using my brain and my bandwidth in my head for better things than just going out and doing foolish stuff. There's a time and a place to do that type of stuff, and I just don't see the need for it anymore. I hope I can maintain my relationships with my friends, because a lot of them don't talk to me a lot that much anymore, probably because I don't party and don't hang out, and that sucks. Because, I think just talking on the phone is very beneficial, and, texting back and forth is fun. But, if to be a good friend, I got to go out and I got to party every single weekend, then I guess I'm not a good friend. I don't know. I'm just not worried about that stuff anymore. I'm worried about important things in life and my future, because we only get this one life, and I don't want to spend, 30 out of my hopefully 80 years or 90 years. I don't want to spend it just wasted and blacked out. So that would be my thing, is just surround yourself with positive people. Be cheap. Be very cheap. It's okay. And just treat everyone with respect. Those would be my things. All right, well, the wife cooked dinner, so I got to call this a little bit early. But as always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Baroda Podcast. And, again, this was just kind of a quick little rant. I plan to have a couple guests on the next few weeks, so definitely stay tuned. And if you haven't already, subscribe at The Baroda, or you can go to my website, thebaroda.com, and you get all my content that way as well. So thanks again, and we will talk to you soon. Peace.